All right, starting September 1st, Amazon will begin to pay out up to $1,000 in damages should a customer suffer harm from any products or items sold on their platform, no matter who the seller is. Amazon says they will work with sellers and keep them informed every step of the way when a damages dispute is initiated, but no further details are made public about this move at this time. So here to weigh in on all of that is attorney at Levin, Papantonio and Rafferty, Miss Sarah Papantonio is here. Sarah, thank you for being with us live and in person. First, Amazon, right? They're saying 80% of damages claims usually amount to $1,000 or less. So one, is it fair to assume the other 20% exceeds this dollar amount? And do you think it's a good idea? It's a good thing for Amazon to do, like it's a win for consumers?
Well, certainly the bulk of these claims are going to be small. It's going to be with small products. But that 20% is at risk of being very, very large. Listen, this comes from Amazon after years and years of kind of threats to its exposure. Amazon is at risk of a huge liability exposure, and they're really starting to figure out, we've got to do something, we've got to streamline it. So this is kind of the angle that they're taking by offering this $1,000 to the 80% within that range, but they are still highly exposed to liability.
So the other 20% could be a lot of money we're talking about. So perhaps, do you think this $1,000 offer up front is going to maybe sway those 20% to not pursue court battles?
Well, what we really have to kind of break this down and talk about is really this is a facade, in my opinion. Amazon is exposed. Amazon is liable. And we talk about liability when we talk about the supply chain of distribution. Mm-hmm. Basically, how product liability works, how defective products work, is every supplier, manufacturer, distributor, and retailer is on the hook for a defective product. Amazon is, by definition, one of these distributors, one of these suppliers. So they're going to be at fault for defective products. But to me, this is just a guy saying, hey, look, we're going to pay $1,000 if we just avoid the legal realm for a little bit.
Well, another interesting thing to this is that Amazon says not only they'll pay this $1,000 regardless of who the original seller is and if they step up or not, but they're announcing plans to start something called Amazon Insurance Accelerator, an initiative to help smaller sellers get product liability insurance. I mean, are there any conflicts of interest there?
Well, I mean, what we're really talking about is Amazon, like we said, is making every effort to streamline this process. And part of the issue is those third-party vendors that they don't necessarily have complete control over. So they're encouraging any vendor who spends up to $10,000, I think, per month to get that liability insurance. So then Amazon, still being on the hook, kind of has a way to deflect that liability.
Yeah, probably not always like, hey, I'm Jeff Bezos, I'm being completely benevolent with everybody. Probably not that, is what you're saying.
Certainly not.
Well, what about the issue of this thing called commingled inventory at these Amazon warehouses? Because oftentimes you can find the exact same product sold by numerous sellers. Does that become a seller problem or a manufacturer problem at that point?
It becomes an Amazon problem. Ooh. Amazon is distributing all these products, whether it be under the guise of Amazon, the manufacturer, or a third-party distributor, right? But Amazon, if they are sending these products out from third parties, or whether it be from them or third party, they're going to be on the hook because they are going to be listed as basically the distributor in this case. And like we talked about, that supply chain of products liability applies to the entire distribution chain.
See, I never knew that. I just learned that today from you. If I was the consumer that, let's say, the Alexa started a fire on my nightstand, I would have just figured, this is my fight with, in this case, Amazon's the distributor, the creator, the seller, they're everything. But you would think it gets more complicated from a third-party seller. But how often do we actually see extreme harm caused by products, and how hard is it to prove, such as the infamous J&J baby powder cancer scandal?
I mean, well, that's a loaded question. If you've got a defective product, it can cause a lot of harm, and that harm can range from these $1,000 claims to hundreds of thousands of dollars. And so, whether it be that small claim or large claim, Amazon's going to be on the hook, and they're seeing that happening over the years. Courts are progressively deciding that Amazon is on the hook, whether it be, a small burn from an Alexa or a third-degree burn from faulty batteries, right? So yeah, we're just going to continue to see that laid out in the court system, and we'll start to get consistency based on where the liability lies.
Yeah, it sounds like this move, this $1,000 up front, like, hey, we're just going to pay you, is intended to keep them out of court.
Yeah, it's certainly a way to swing the narrative in their favor and talk to customers and say, hey, look, you can avoid all the legal consequences. You can avoid all that, nuanced stuff,
right,
and just go our direction. We'll pay you $1,000, when in fact, a claim might be worth far more than that.
Wow, so still look into it. All right, Sarah Papantonio, thank you so much for sharing that legal advice with us.
Thank you.